Hi students, welcome back to APRJC Intermediate Online Classes. This is Dr. M. Channakeshwulu, JLN Botany, working at APRJC, Gyarampalli, Chittoor districts. Today I want to discuss about the transport in the plants. That is the first chapter in the plant physiology. In the previous class, you have studied different topics like diffusion, facilitated diffusion, active transport and water potential. So what do you mean by diffusion? Anybody can define it? Anybody? So diffusion is a phenomena or process in which the movement of molecules takes place from high to low concentrated region is called as diffusion. What do you know about facilitated diffusion? It is also type of diffusion, but it is facilitated by a special proteins present in the cell membrane. So facilitated diffusion can be defined as the movement of molecules from one cell to other cell through the special proteins called as porins, which are present in the cell membrane of the plant body. So this is called as facilitated diffusion. So both diffusion and facilitated diffusion are examples of passive transport. In these two types, there is no utilization of metabolic energy or ATP. So there is no consumption of ATP. What do you know about active transport? So the transport of molecules from one cell to other cell with the help of ATP or metabolic energy. By using this energy, the molecules move from one cell to other cell through the cell membrane. So in active transport, the molecules transfer from low concentration to high concentration also. So that is why it is also known as a uphill transport. What do you know about water potential? The relative difference between the chemical potential of pure water to that of solution is called as water potential. Today, I want to discuss about the other topics like osmosis, plasmolysis, imbibition, long distance transport of water, and ascent of sap. What do you know about osmosis? Please write down the definition. The movement of water molecules from high to low chemical potential region through semi-permeable membrane is called as osmosis. So the movement of water molecules from high to low chemical potential region through the semi-permeable membrane is called as osmosis. What are the semi-permeable membranes? Cellophane paper, parchment paper, egg membrane are the examples of semi-permeable membranes. The egg membrane can be taken out from the egg So if the egg is placed in a concentrated acids, H2SO4 or HCl. So the eggshell can be dissolved. Then the membrane present below the eggshell is taken for the experiment also. So that is the egg membrane, a white papery layer present below the eggshell. So these are the different types of membranes are act as a semi-permeable membrane. So these semi-permeable membranes can allow only solvent molecules or water molecules only. They cannot allow the solid particles. So impermeable membranes. So the impermeable membranes cannot permit any type of molecules. For example, so suberin layer, lignin layer, lignin, suberin. So suberin present in the generally the endodermal cells. Some of the endodermal cells, their cell walls are made up of suberin. So they cannot allow the any type of molecules. So these are the impermeable membranes. So some are the semi-permeable membranes, and some are the permeable membranes. So the permeable membranes can allow all types of molecules. For example, cell wall. So cell walls allows the all types of molecules. The cellophane paper, parchment paper, egg membrane can allow only water molecules. So in this process, the two solutions are separated by the semi-permeable membrane. Whenever the two concentrated solutions are separated, with help of semi-permeable membrane, so the water moves from low concentration to the higher concentrated region. That phenomenon is called as osmosis. So osmosis can be defined in two different ways. So based on the chemical potential or water potential values, so the movement of water molecules from high to low chemical potential region through semi-permeable membrane, or movement of water molecules from high to low chemical potential region is called as osmosis. Movement of water molecules from high to low water potential region is also named as osmosis. So in respect of condensation, we can define in another way. The movement of water molecules from low to high concentrated solution is called as osmosis. However, in osmosis, semi-permeable membrane is used. What is high chemical potential region? So the high chemical potential region contains a more number of water molecules. So it contains a more number of water molecules, and it is a low concentrated solution. Suppose if you take 5% of salt solution, so 5 to 10 water molecules are consumed for dissolving the salt particles. So if you take 30% of salt solution, so 30 to 50 water molecules are used or consumed for dissolving the salts. So the low content solution, so 10% salt solution having the more number of water molecules when compared to the 50% of a salt solution, because 50% of salt solution, 30 to 50% of salt solution contain 30 to 50% of salt solution having more number of solutes and low number of water molecules. So the high chemical potential region contains more number of water molecules, and low chemical potential region contains less number of water molecules. So the osmotic potential is always negative. Osmotic potential is always negative, and osmotic pressure is always positive. Please remember, osmotic potential value is negative, but pressure is a positive sign. So osmotic potential is always negative sign, and osmotic pressure is always positive. So what is osmosis? So the movement of water molecules from low to high content solution, or you can also define as the movement of water molecules from high chemical potential region to the low chemical potential region is called as osmosis. So if the water enters into the cell is called as endosmosis. If the water coming out from the cell is called as exosmosis. So the best examples of osmosis are root hairs absorb water by endosmosis. So generally the roots present in the soil absorbs soil water by endosmosis phenomena. So the soil water enter into the cell, hence it is an example of endosmosis. Second one is cytoplasm enter into the vacuole by osmosis. So the cytoplasm also enter into the empty space organelle called as a vacuole through the tonoplast. The membrane surrounding the vacuole is called as tonoplast. Please write down it. Tonoplast. Tonoplast is the layer surrounding the vacuole, where the plasma membrane or cell membrane surrounding the protoplasm. It is present below the cell wall. So third example is the turgidity of guard cells is due to osmosis. So the guard cells are becomes with full water due to the endosmosis. So the turgidity of guard cells is due to osmosis. So the osmosis can be proved by two experiments, namely potato osmoscope and Thysel funnel experiment. Have you seen the Thysel funnel in the lower classes? So this is the Thysel funnel experiment. It is a physical experiment, whereas the potato osmoscope is the biological experiment or living experiment. So for Thysel funnel experiment, we need a glass Thysel funnel. So it has two open ends. One is narrow end and another is a broader end. And beaker, water, sugar solution, and stand, semi-permeable membrane, either egg membrane or cellophane paper, and rubber band. So for in this experiment, so the Thysel funnel, a glass apparatus. So it has two ends, narrow end and a broad end. So this broad end is covered with a cellophane paper or egg membrane with the help of the rubber band, and some part of the Thysel funnel is filled with sugar solution, and the starting level is noted as a initial level or first level. So this Thysel funnel containing sugar solution is placed in a beaker containing normal water or distilled water with the help of the stand. So here, this normal water is separated from the sugar solution, high concentrated water, with the help of cellophane paper. Please remember the students. So there are the two solutions, high concentrated solution present in the Thysel funnel and low concentrated solution present in the beaker. After 2 hours, we can observe that the sugar level is increased in the Thysel funnel. Why? Because the water present in the beaker enter into the Thysel funnel. here end osmosis takes place. The water present in the beaker enter into the Thiessen funnel because it is a low concentrated solution, has a high water potential. In Thiessen funnel, high concentrated sugar solution has a low water potential. Hence, the water passively enter into the Thiessen funnel through the cellophane paper. Hence, the sugar water or sugar solution level increased in the stem of Thiessen funnel, and this level is noted as a final level. So hence here the water moves from low concentration to the higher concentration. Are you clear? This is the Thiessen funnel experiment. Second one is living experiment, potato osmoscope. You have this experiment in practicals also, second year. So for this experiment, we can take the potato, knife or blade, water, beaker and bell pins. So with the help of the knife or scalpel, so the surface of the potato is covered by a corky layer, can be removed. So the corky layer surrounding the potato is removed with the help of scalpel or blade, and made a small pit on the surface of the potato. A trough or pit is prepared. So in the pit, sugar solution is added, of 5 ml sugar solution is added, and the initial level is noted by putting the bell pin. So this potato is immersed in the beaker containing water. After 2 hours, we observe that the sugar solution level is increased in the potato pit because the water present in the beaker is a low concentrated. It enters into the potato trough. Hence, the sugar solution level is increased. So in this experiment also, the water source moved from low concentrated solution to the higher concentrated solution through the cell membranes. So potatoes have living cells. Hence in living cells, the cell membrane acts as a semi-permeable membrane. Hence the water moves into the potato trough. So in osmosis, is it clear? The movement of water molecules from low concentration to the higher concentration through the semi-permeable membrane is called as osmosis. So you can also purify the water by using RO plant. RO plant means reverse osmosis. By using electric energy, so the water is forcibly passed through the various filters in RO plant. Hence, the high concentrated solution water becomes low concentrated solution. Hence, normally in osmosis, the water moves from low to high concentration. But in RO plant, the water moves from high to low by applying the electrical energy. So, by the help of RO plant, the water can be purified. Is it clear? So, the second concept is plasmolysis. What do you know about plasmolysis? Anybody? Please write down the definition. The shrinkage of protoplast due to exosmosis is called as plasmolysis. The shrinkage of a protoplast due to exosmosis. What is protoplast? So the cell membrane along with cytoplasm and a nucleus is called as protoplast. So inside the cell wall, the material, the parts present inside the cell wall of the plant cell is called a protoplast. So the protoplast shrivels or wrinkled due to the happening of exosmosis. So why it happens, you can learn Now, so before understanding the plasmolysis, you can observe the and make the difference between the three types of solutions: hypertonic solution, hypotonic solution, and isotonic solution. Hypertonic solution is the more concentrated solution. Please note down the point. Hypertonic is the more concentrated or high concentrated solution. Hypo means low. Hypotonic means low concentrated solution. So isotonic means equal concentrated solutions. If you observe the external solution within the cytoplasm, so if the external solution is more concentrated, it is called as a hypertonic. If external solution is low concentrated, then the cytoplasm of this cell is called as hypotonic. So if the external solution and cytoplasm are similar concentrations, then both solutions are called as isotonic solutions. Iso means similar. So whenever the cell is placed in a high concentrated solution, hypertonic solution, when a plant cell is placed in a hypertonic solution, so the protoplast generally shrinks or shrivels due to exosmosis. By losing the water, the protoplast shows shrivels and wrinkled, hence the shrinkage of protoplast due to exosmosis is called as plasmolysis. So the first stage or the initial sign of plasmolysis is called as incipient plasmolysis. So in flaccid cell, pressure potential is zero. What is a flaccid cell? So in the last class you learn about a turgid cell. The cell with full water is called a turgid cell. The cell without water or very minimum water is called a flaccid cell. So flaccid cell contains flaccid cell does not contain water. Hence in flaccid cells the pressure potential is zero because there is no water in the flaccid cell. The pressure potential is zero. So in a plasmoid cell, the water potential is equal to the solute potential because there is no pressure potential. In normal cell, the water potential is equal to the psi s plus psi p. So whereas psi p is absent in a plasmoid cell, hence the water potential of the plasmoid cell can be calculated by knowing the solute potential only. So psi w equal to psi s in a plasmalized cell. So what is the use of plasmolysis? So before that we can easily demonstrate the plasmolysis. So when a plant cell is placed in it is a normal cell, cell wall, cytoplasm and a vacuole, this is a nucleus. When the cell is placed in a more concentrated solution, so automatically this protoplast shows shrivels or shrinks. So this protoplast removed cell membrane detached from the cell wall, detached from the at corners of the cell walls. Hence this is the first stage of plasmolysis called as incipient plasmolysis. Incipient plasmolysis. After some time, so this protoplast completely shrink. Hence it looks like a large spherical body at the center of the cell. So this is called as a plasmalized cell. So the shrinkage of protoplast due to exosmosis. So whenever the cell is placed in a more concentrated solution, the water present in the cell coming out from the cell and enter into the beaker. Hence it is called as a plasmolysis. So when a plant cell is placed in a more concentrated solution, the cell loses water and a protoplast shriveled and shrinks. Such cell is called as a plasmalized cell. So the examples of plasmolysis are the storage of pickles. So generally we are saying in houses, so the pickles are continuous stored for throughout year. mangoes or lemon. So what are the pickle? So the mothers, so generally periodically adding the salts to the pickles. So meat, fish and prawns also stored for longer time by adding the salts. So you know that so from India also several fishes, meat and prawns are exported to the other countries. So this meat, fish and prawns completely covered with the salts. So whenever they are completely covered with salts, so the water present in the meat, fish and prawns coming out. So exosmosis takes place. Hence the meat, fish and prawns can be durable. So the shelf life of meat, fish and prawns can be increased for some period. Hence we can export the such animal foods to the other countries also. So the storage of pickles, meat, fish and prawns are the best examples of plasmolysis. So what is meant by deplasmolysis? So the plasmodial cell, this is the plasmodial cell. So you know that so the protoplast shrivel at the center, shrink at the center. So whenever this in plasmolysis, the water coming out from the cell. So when this plasmodial cell placed in a low concentrated solution or low concentrated beaker, so the water generally enter into the cell, hence the cell becomes normal. So that is a deplasmolysis. So whenever the cell becomes turgid, so the cell shows the deplasmolysis. Whenever the cell shows flaccid condition, it shows the plasmolysis. So in plasmolysis, so the protoplast shows shrinks, but in deplasmolized cell, so the protoplast cannot show the shrink. Hence, what do you know about plasmolysis? The shrinkage of protoplast due to exosmosis is called as a plasmolysis. Are you clear? So next concept is the imbibition. So what do you know about imbibition? Please write down the definition. So absorption of water by hydrophilic colloids or hydrophilic substances to increase their volume is called as imbibition. Absorption of water, I repeat, absorption of water by hydrophilic substances to increase their volume is called as imbibition. So the substance which absorbs water is called as imbibent. The substance which absorbs water is called as imbibent. Generally, the substance which absorbs water are called as imbibents. Examples: seeds, dry seeds and dry wood are the best examples of imbibents. Generally, protein seeds swells more than starch seeds. So protein containing seeds absorbs more water than the starch grain seeds. Proteins have more imbibing capacity than the carbohydrates. So if you want to observe the imbibition process, so take the dry seeds and they can soak in water present in a beaker and leave it for 10 to 12 hours. After 10 to 12 hours we can observe that the dry seeds are swollen and absorb the water and the volume of the seeds also increases. So here that the volume of dry seeds are very little. After 10 hours, so the seeds increase their size due to absorption of water. So this hydrophilic substances or seeds absorb water to increase their volume is called as imbibition. You can see that generally whenever we sow the seeds in the soil, at the time of germination, the seeds absorb water present in the soil and swells and swollen and automatically it can undergo respiration. Hence, the embryo becomes seedlings. So it is the best example of imbibition. The seeds germinate by the process of imbibition. By the process of imbibition, the seeds absorb water and they can easily germinate. So imbibition can also observed in raisins also, dry raisins, that is dry grapes. So dry grapes are shriveled, and dry grapes are taken in a watch glass or a beaker and poured the water. So after some time, after 10 hours or after the night, we can see that these raisins or dry grapes are swollen by increasing their volume due to the absorption of water molecules. Hence, these dry raisins are also very useful in nutrient point. So dry grapes and also badam nuts also soaked in beaker or in vessels during night. In early morning, we can see that so all raisins and this badam nuts also swollen by the absorption of water molecules. So the seeds, especially the seeds, can absorb water by the process of imbibition. So when compared to this imbibition in starch seeds and protein seeds, starch seeds are common in poaceae members, graminea members, rice, jowar and bajra, jonna, sajja, vari. Whereas in fabaceae members, so pea plant, pigeon pea, pea and sisal, senaga, batani, kandi. So all these plants comes under the pulses. So the fabaceae plants, the fabaceae seeds containing more proteins, but the graminae or poaceae seeds containing carbohydrates. So if you soak the paddy or jowar seeds in one beaker containing water, and another beaker you can soak the sisal or pea, senaga or batani seeds, you can easily observe that so this pea seeds and sisal seeds swells more than the rice or jowar. So today you can also practice, you can soak the senaga seeds in the water and also jowar seeds in the water. You can easily observe the so more swelling can be seen in the sisal seeds or pea seeds. So that is why the pea seeds have the more imbibing capacity than the carbohydrates. So the individuals when absorbing water, so they have certain pressure. So it can release pressure in the form of heat. So you can see here in this diagram. So the time of germination, so the soil also breaks. So when the seeds becomes seedlings due to the imbibition pressure. And also if we can generally here and there we are seeing that some trees are growing on the crevices of small crevices of rocks. So after a longer period we can see that the rocks can be broken into several bits because the stem and root grows normally, so they can absorb water and swells automatically the rock broken into several pieces. So the rocks also broken due to the growing of plants. So in olden days also, so the man can use it to a dry log to break the rocks. In the olden days, the man can take the dry log and place it in the slit or a small portion of the rocks, narrow slits, and pour the water. So completely the wood is poured with water. So after one day, So due to the imbibition pressure, so the wood expands automatically, the rocks breaks into several fragments. In the rainy season also, we can see that the wooden doors, the wooden windows also not fitted suitably in the frames. So that is also best example of imbibition. Next topic, long distance transport of water. So you know that the plants absorb water from the soil with the help of the root system. So the root absorbs water. So the water enters into the roots through the cell wall. After that it passes through the several cells and finally reaches to the root xylem. So a long translocation of water molecules takes place. So a long distance transport of water takes place from root hair to the root xylem. So the movement of water molecules through the each cell takes 2.5 seconds. How much time can take the movement of water molecule through the cell? 2.5 seconds. So generally the water move into deeper layers of the roots with the help of two methods, namely apoplast and symplast. These are very, very important questions in public exam also. What do you mean by apoplast? So apoplast is the non-living part of the plant body. So what are the non-living parts of the plant body? Can anybody tell? Please tell me. What are the non-living parts of the plant body? Cell walls and intercellular spaces. So each cell is covered by a cell wall. So that cell wall is the non-living layer. And intercellular spaces and cell corners also non-living systems. So apoplast is the non-living part of the plant body, whereas symplast is the living system of the plant body. What are the living parts? So cell membrane, cytoplasm and plasmodesmata and cytoplasmic connections. So all these constitute the symplast, living system. So cytoplasm and plasmodesmata are the examples of living system in the plant body. So the water pass in the plant body by two methods, apoplast and symplast. Apoplast is the non-living parts of the plant body, whereas symplast is the living parts of the plant body. Mycorrhizae, the roots associated with the fungus is called as mycorrhizae. Myco means mycelium, rhizae means roots. So whenever the roots are covered with the help of mycelium, fungus, that such roots are called as mycorrhizae. So mycorrhizae is also very useful for the absorption of water from the soil. So this is the root system of the plant without mycelium. So these are the plants, generally these roots are covered by a mycelium or fungus. So these are the mycorrhizae roots, these are the non-mycorrhizae roots. So these mycorrhizae roots also enhances the water absorption. So they absorb the water and supplies to the plant body. So pinus seeds cannot germinate in the absence of mycorrhizae. You know that gymnosperm. So one of the pine plant, that is the pinus. So this pinus, the seeds are completely covered with the mycorrhizae. So the seeds are obligately associated strictly. So the seeds of pinus strictly associated with the fungus. So hence, so the fungus threads absorbs the water and supplies the seeds. Then the seeds germinate into pinus plant. So the pathways of water can be observed in the two cells. So what are the pathways of water? Apoplast and symplast. So this is one cell and this is the second cell. This is the central vacuole. This is cell wall. This is the cytoplasm of the cell, yellow color. So this water can move from one cell to other cell through the cell wall and intercellular spaces is called as apoplast pathway. So this the red color denotes the apoplastic pathway of water. So whereas the water moves from one cell to other cell through the cytoplasm and plasmodesmata. So these are the cytoplasmic connections between two cells. Please note down, cytoplasmic connections between two cells is called as a plasmodesmata. So through the plasmodesmata, the water moves from one cell to the other cell. So here, apoplast and symplastic pathway in a tissue, it contains several cells, a group of cells. So in apoplastic pathway, the water always moves through the cell walls and cell corners, intercellular spaces, and finally reach to the root xylem. Whereas symplast, the direct pathway. So generally in symplast, cytoplasm, plasmodesmata, cytoplasm, plasmodesmata, again cytoplasm. So like this is the direct pathway of water. So this is the living system. This is the apoplastic pathway and this is the symplastic pathway. If you take the transverse section of root, we can find the outermost layer is the epidermis layer, epidermis. Inner to the epidermis is the cortex. The innermost layer of cortex is the endodermis layer. So inner to endodermis there is a vascular bundle surrounded by a pericycle layer and the vascular bundle contains a xylem and phloem. So if you observe each cell, so when the water present in the soil enter into the root epidermal cell, so this water may pass into the root xylem through the cell walls and intercellular spaces only. That is the apoplastic pathway. So the dark brown color indicates the apoplastic pathway. The dark brown parts are the non-living parts, whereas light color parts are the living parts of the root. So the water enter into the epidermis, pass directly into the root xylem through the cytoplasm and plasmodesmata. So this is apoplastic pathway and symplastic pathway. So this is the apoplastic entire internal structure of a root. So when the root here absorbs water, enter into the epidermal cell and passed into the corners of the cell walls, cells, and finally enter into the root xylem. And in symplastic pathway, the water enter into the epidermis, directly passed into the root xylem through the cytoplasm and plasmodesmata. So these are the apoplast and symplastic pathway of water movement. So apoplast is the non-living parts of the plant body, whereas symplast is the living parts of the plant body. It is very, very important promise question in public exams also. Ascent of sap. So the upward movement of water against gravitational force is called as the ascent of sap. You know that the water present in the root xylem is sucked into the stems, leaves and flowers. So it is the upward movement of water against gravitational force is called as the ascent of sap. So it can be explained by two theories, root pressure theory and cohesion tension transpiration pull model. So root pressure was proposed by Stephen Hales. According to Stephen Hales, the water present in the roots exerts some positive hydrostatic pressure. So Stephen Hales fixed the manometer to the cutted part of the potted plant. He has taken a potted plant, the stem base is cutted with the help of blade and a manometer is attached. So after 1 hour, observe that the water present in the stem coming into the manometer, hence the mercury level is increased in the manometer. So that is due to the root pressure only. So the root cell shows pressure, hence the water enter into the manometer. So generally the root pressure is very minimum, hence the root pressure is not sufficient for the upward movement of water in tallest trees. So drops of water oozes and observed in early morning and night. So in early morning and night we can see the drops of water oozes at the leaf margins and the leaf tips. So the release of water in the form of droplets from vein endings on leaf margins is called as guttation. It occurs through the hydatodes. So root pressure is not sufficient in big trees, tall trees like Sequoia sempervirens. So it goes up to the 300 feet, but only the root pressure is 3 to 4 atmospheres. So this is not sufficient for the upward movement of water in Sequoia gigantea and Sequoia sempervirens. Hence, the root pressure theory is not accepted. Hence, the second theory is a transverse pull model or cohesion tension theory. It was proposed by Dixon and Jolly. In 1894, they proposed the transverse pull model. There are three physical properties according to Dixon and Jolly. They are cohesion, adhesion, and translation pull model. Cohesion means attraction between similar molecules is called as cohesive forces. So adhesion means attraction between dissimilar molecules, different molecules. The attractive force between two different molecules is called as adhesion. So transverse pull is the third property. It is the driving force for upward movement of water. So if you see the xylem vessels, so adhesion means so the attractive force between the two dissimilar molecules. So this is water molecule and this is the root xylem cell wall. So this is the adhesive forces. Due to adhesive forces, the water molecules are attached to the xylem vessels. Cohesive forces. So cohesive force means the attractive force between the two similar molecules. This is the water molecule H2O. This is another H2O. So both are attracted with the help of cohesive forces. So due to the cohesive forces and adhesive forces, the water is passed from root to the leaves through the stem. So an upward movement of water takes place. So an upward movement of water takes place against a gravitational force is called as a Askant-Upsap. So that is due to the three forces: cohesive forces, adhesive forces, and translational pull. So if you see the plant here, so the root absorbs water. So water enters into the roots, and this water enters into the stem, and the water present in the stem enters into the leaves. During daytime, the water is coming out in the form of water vapor. So whenever the water is lost through the vapor is called as a transpiration. The loss of water in the form of vapor from the aerial parts of the plant body is called as a transpiration. So whenever the transpiration occurs, so water deficit occurs in the veins, mesophil tissue of the leaf. So in the mesophil tissue, whenever water is lost, so the transverse pull exerts in the veins. Hence, the water present in the veins enter into the mesophil cells. So whenever the water present in the veins enter into the mesophil tissue, so this transverse pull or sucking pressure. So the sucking pressure is passed into the stem and finally passed into the roots. Hence, the roots absorbs continuously water, and the water is continuously shows upward movement from roots to the leaves with the help of translational pull. So the translational pull is the driving force for the upward movement of water. So this is the anatomy of the plant. This is the root anatomy, stem and leaf. So the root absorbs water and enter into the epidermis, cortical cells, and find the root xylem. So from the root xylem, water enters into the stem xylem and finally enter into the leaf through the veins. Veins are nothing but vascular bundles. They contain xylem and phloem. So the water is passed into the xylem and finally during daytime, so the water present in the miscible cells are lost in the form of vapor, transpiration. So whenever the transpiration occurs, what is lost in the miscible cells? Hence, due to the sucking pressure or transition pull is present in the miscible cells is passed into the stem and the roots. Hence, due to the transition pull, the water is always shows upward movement in the plant body. That is the ascent of cell. So the movement of water from root system to the shoot system against gravitational force is called as transpiration. So this is the best theory. So this transition pull is sufficient. 30 bars are generally exist in the miscible tissue. It is sufficient to upward movement of water in plants growing 300 feet also. In sequoia plant grows more than 300 feet. Hence, in such plants also the transpiration pull is sufficient for the upward movement of water. So that is about the transpiration pull. Any doubts? Thank you. Thank you very much, students.